Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's once again Friday night. This is the place to be. It is the Boise Bus, and it is that Friday feeling. And how are we all feeling tonight? We're a little bit nervous because, yes, the home straight, we're now on it. We can see the finish line ahead. There are 5 league games, 5 hurdles to get over, and a cup final in yonder distance, but we'll worry about that when we get to it. But yeah, the league title race, we are now just a little bit ahead, just a little tiny bit ahead of them. And we can see the finish line and say the first hurdle comes this weekend where we play Dundee up at the bowling green. That is Dens Park. I'm sure it will be in immaculate condition come Sunday afternoon. But yes, as you can see, folks, I'm joined by my usual Friday night colleague, Liam, the Punk Duck World Canada's favourite. And of course, he is the wise man of the bus. It's good to see you, Liam. How you feeling, mate?
I'm feeling good, Phil. You know, it's funny. I'm an old bastard, you know. I've been around for ages, and yet here I am waiting for the weeks to go faster because I can't wait to see the next Celtic game. That's how bad it is. And you feel like you're just wanting, come on, Saturday, come on. You know, when we are playing, like, guys, let's get it. You know, I wish there was 2 games a week right now, but I tell you what, they make it interesting for you. As far as following a sports team and all that, it's always something different with Celtic. And I know we got a lot to talk about over the last couple of days and even just the day. So yeah. I'm looking forward to getting out my system and then getting ready for the game.
Oh, yes, indeed. And we shall be doing that over the next hour or so. And of course, folks, before we get started, just remember to do all that good stuff. Of course, you can hit that like button. Helps us out in the old algorithm, CSE and all that stuff. Get involved in our comment section, as many are already doing. A lot of the regulars are already in with the wee member logo next to their name as well. There is a poll as well in tonight's comments. So get involved in the poll and I'll check the results at the end. I've quite simply asked, how many points will Celtic collect over the next 5 games? I think my mathematics are correct on this. I put 15, 13, 12, 10 or less. I think that's the only real possibilities. I don't think 14 is a possibility in 5 games. But yes, of course, you can get voting in that. Vote 15. And yeah, if you vote 10 or less, come forward and explain yourself. And yes, I'll read out the results at the end. And of course, hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so yet. If you're brand new to the bus, want to keep us in your life that little bit longer, then by all means, please do so. Hit the bell notification. You're reminded when we're on the road. And of course, share the link of the Boise Bus far and wide on whatever social media platform you wish. And head over to piesports.com. The logo is in one of the top corners. I always get it wrong when I'm looking at my camera here. I can never get it right. But yeah, use the code BUS1888 and you will get 12.5% off your order. And all that said and done, let's get going. Let's get this bus on the road because yes, we are now in the post-split era of the season. We've got 5 league games to go. Before, of course, we get there, last week, let's just touch on it a little bit, Liam, because wow. Last week, that cup game, bit of an eye-opener, really. For those who think it's home and dry and the double was a certainty. A few scares there, wasn't there, Liam, to say the least?
Aye, a few scares there and a lot of... We showed the vulnerability I was hoping when they happened. I was wanting to see us. I thought this was a good opportunity for us to get confident and start that winning mentality of like what these next 6 games are. That should have been the easiest one, you know. And I know they were up for it and that, but we had more than enough to be. That's a poor Aberdeen side, and they matched us. They came and they exploited us, you know. And so it's a hard game to. You know, we saw Philip Clement was referring it to as a draw today. You know, it feels like a draw. It doesn't feel like a win. You know, I get that, but you know, he's a psycho for different reasons. But yeah, it didn't feel like a big win to me. You know, like where you wanted to see Celtic make a statement. So I think it just opens up a lot of questions what these next 5 games are going to be like, and what are we going to do? Are we going to like we've seen deficiencies there that's going to come up now, and it's like, okay, if a team, off form as Aberdeen can exploit it, what about teams with better players that have already had success against us? Then they'll also be looking to exploit the same thing. And it's all about seeing as, okay, so knowing that that's happening now, is Rodgers going to do anything about it? You know, New Rocky might be the answer. But anyway, we'll get into that. That's what I'm thinking about last week. 'Cause it was a good win, but it felt like a draw. You know.
Yeah, it was. What we saw last week, there was a lot of hallmarks of things we've seen all season. Like, you know, a team just sort of battens down the hatches and time wastes up to late in the game, then just throws everything at it. And yeah, Aberdeen just kept on pegging his back every time we got ourselves in front. And yeah, we got there in the end. And I think when the cup final rolls around, I think depending how the league plays out, and I'm still leaning towards we'll win the title. I think us going into that final as champions, I think you might see a different Celtic, a bit more of a forceful Celtic, because last week it was crazy. It was an emotional roller coaster in the stadium, to say the very, very least. And the half time in the 90 minutes, I said that to David on the Sunday Blether last week. I still felt that, okay, bit of a subpar first half. We've been here, we've been down this road before this season. I feel we'll come out in the second half and we'll just find a way to get it done. And yeah, I thought we played okay up until the last 10 minutes of the second half. And then, Aberdeen just threw everything at us. They got their goal and, just couldn't keep ourselves in front through extra time. And I didn't foresee the ending that we had, the penalty shootout. A dramatic way to do it. But hey, we got there. And we'll worry about the cup when we get to it. But it should obviously serve as a few warning signs, definitely. If a team like Aberdeen can cause these types of problems, and yes, I do know that the dynamics in a cup game can be very different to a league game. And the Aberdeen had nothing else on their plate last week. That was the last thing in their season to go for, because I think they'll be safe. Yeah, they just decided to go all guns blazing at the end of the 90 minutes, the end of extra time, and they nearly beat us on penalties, but yeah, we got there in the end. But we've talked about last week anyway. We've had a few shows this week talking about it. Myself and David did the Sunday Blether, which kind of became a de facto PMP. Monday, obviously, Russell and John had their say on it as well. But let's look ahead then to many headlines going into Sunday. Before we talk about the game and team lineups and any wee surprises that could be in there, so there's a few other headlines swirling around this week, Liam, that I think we need to get into. So let's talk about one of our favourite things in Scottish football and for Celtic fans, the R word, referees. Let's discuss this. Because ever since that incident at Tynecastle, we can't seem to escape John Beaton and Don Robertson, can we? We seem to be having a wee rotation here. We had Don Robertson last week for the Cup game. We've got John Beaton this weekend for the Dundee game. And it's a bit odd, isn't it? Do you think maybe Brendan Graham also saying that, because remember when the whole thing happened, didn't Brendan say something like, even when he questioned his competence, he also said he was a good referee? I just don't know, man, what's going on here. Ultimately, we shouldn't be worried about the referees. As Jogstein always says, if you're good enough, the referee shouldn't matter. But it is a bit odd when you look at the precedent that's been set along the years, Liam, where certain other teams have moaned about specific referees, and that referee usually gets banished into the abyss, never to be seen again, or at least 9-10 months later they might reappear. But a few referees who, in their eyes, are Celtic-minded referees, like Kevin Clancy and Willie Collum, we've not had them for a wee while. Funny enough, I actually looked this up. The last time we had Kevin Clancy as a referee was when Hearts beat us at Celtic Park in December. And the last time Willie Collum refereed one of our games, it was when we beat Motherwell at Fir Park back in February. But yeah, they seem to be nowhere near our games. But yeah, we cannot escape the dynamic duo right now of Don Robertson and John Beaton. It's either one or the other, it seems.
It's you could go right down the Alec Jones route with it. It's like used to make one of his conspiracy films or something. This would be like just he couldn't believe it. It's like, nah, nobody will believe that, right? That's too far-fetched. Like, but if you were going to do something like that, and if you were going to say it was corruption and that there's an agenda or there is bias, maybe there's a better word for it, and from the SFA, and I don't know, you wonder what their rationale would be for it. It would be to keep Rangers strong, I guess. whatever, and that's it. You know, it's proper Alex Jones stuff, you know. But when you look at the optics of it, right? Yeah, I've worked in advertising a long time. Would you want to hide something, put it in plain sight, make it so that you can't ignore it and that, and it just blends in, and it like you make it so obvious that you know they do that a lot with deficiencies and things to just sort of sucks less, like when you're making fun of yourself and that, and I don't know the appointment of these two referees. So that's the conspiracy angle that it's like that's just like if we get dodgy decisions against us, if we and if it's looking like like a fix, or if it's looking like something other than just like bias, like just bad refereeing, then it probably is. And so I think that's something we just have to look out for. And then at what point do you acknowledge it? Like it is, it just seems all this stuff is stacked. So if we go into the next game and we're getting a dodgy penalty against us, or a guy sent off or something, at what point do we speak out? Because I feel like we've already not spoke out enough yet. And now like they're just pushing, well, what more will they take? And at what point are we going to jump out with a aha, I've got you moment that this seems to be leading up to, because the fact that we're so silent.
Yeah.
It's like, what's going on? Because if we're not talking about it, the board have to be talking about it, because, wait a minute, there's no precedent for this. You don't see that. The only thing I can think of, other than the Alex Jones conspiracy theory, is that, Brendan shot himself in the foot, Phil, when he came out and said, John Beaton's one of the best referees in Scotland.
Debatable.
And so now are they thinking, well, Brendan trusts these guys or something, or Brendan's come out and said they're both quality referees and stuff, so we know these are volatile games or something, or I don't know. It sounds to me like somebody's sort of making preemptive decisions.
Yeah.
Stuff. You know what I mean? Like they're expecting these to be powder kegs or controversial games somehow, so they'll put these guys in charge, and they're the ones that's going to make them controversial. And it's not going to start. It's going to start with they ones.
Yeah, well, since the defeat to Hearts, where all of this seemed to be triggered from, where Don Robertson was the man in the middle and John Beaton was obviously the VAR ref that day, and that's when everything obviously kicked off. We've had Don Robertson referee us against Livingston at Almondvale. He refereed the Cup semi-final last week. John Beaton refereed the Rangers game, the 3-each draw, and he will referee us, obviously, this coming Sunday. And that's only been, 4 league games and a cup game since then, so 5 games since that Hearts defeat, and we've seen these same two guys multiple times. But as I say, there are other referees who, I debate the whole, Kevin Clancy, he's one of us. Kevin Clancy's one of the most frustrating referees. I think he stops the game way, way too much. He never lets the game flow. So if he is trying to do us favours, he certainly ain't doing us any favours the way he keeps stopping the game. But yeah, when you look at that, that's 5 games we've had since that Hearts game, and we've seen Robertson or Beaton. And then the other game, we had Stephen McLean against St Mirren and Ewan Anderson against St Johnstone. So it's quite abnormal that we're getting these two same refs in some sort of combination. It's that short a space of time since that incident, but it's quite interesting that you bring up that Brendan said that whole he said one of our better referees. UEFA and numerous other organisations don't seem to think so, because obviously with the World Cup in 2022, no Scottish referees went to that. There's going to be no Scottish referees going to the Euros in the summer, and also the Olympic Games. There is a football tournament during that, and no Scottish officials have been picked for that either. So they certainly don't think they're any good, and that's the big governing bodies.
That shows you the snub for the World Referees Association and all that. Shows you everything. I was going to ask the bus there just, right, who is a good referee in Scotland? Who is the best? I'm struggling in my head. I've not missed a game, and I've not missed a game in years. And I'm trying in my head to figure out who's the best referee. When you get him, you go, you'll no see him, or he'll be invisible, and which is what referee is. I can't even think of any of them. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see who people out there think is a
I think a lot of people will be on your side on that one. I don't think there'll be many people clamouring for. I say so many of the referees. I just can't. You can't pick any out that are anyway outstanding. I say it's a damning indictment, shall we say, that governing bodies like UEFA and stuff aren't even picking them for the Euros and say the Olympic tournament as well. Even there, none of them are going to that for the football tournament. So yeah, none at all. But
it's amazing, Phil. It's amazing the investment that they make in these referees over time, because you can't seem to get rid of them. It sounds like they're on like a 4-year contract or something. Like, are they on contracts? They must be, right?
No, it's not a full-time job up here. It's part-time in Scotland. Can't really be a contract, can it? I mean, there might be some, but obviously it's a part-time thing because they've got their own jobs. We all know about Willie Collum being an RE teacher in a Catholic school, which obviously Rangers fans love to remind us of whenever we get a decision off him. It's one of them. See, Willie Collum's another one that I just don't see much. This is a guy who once upon a time gave a penalty against us without looking at it. Remember that? So, yeah, it's honestly, you're right. There's no any good ones. But you mentioned about when did Celtic speak out about this, and we've mentioned before on the bus, my biggest worry when VAR came in was, I wish to God we, along the way, whenever we did get a win, but there was a really stupid decision in it, we called it out publicly, but we seemed to wait until things went wrong at Tynecastle to say something publicly. But this is quite relevant because it's another referee story from the world of football this week. What did you make of what Nottingham Forest did last week? Did you see that? The tweet about the VAR official. I don't know if Celtic should maybe go down that extreme a route, but there you go. Even down in England, they're lashing out with things like that. Mental. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that quickly because that was quite a watershed moment, I think, for referees.
Yeah, but you also see like a historical team like Nottingham Forest as well, right? They've got a history and all that and stuff, and I think they have every right to sort of question the integrity of some of these people that are just, shipped into the game to watch a video monitor. Clubs like Nottingham Forest, England owned a great deal of their football history to them. That's their European giants, time. So, yeah, I think they've got every right to. I mean, who says we can't question integrity?
Yeah.
We're proving again and again, like through every walk of life, that every single person, you're fighting corruption at every level and in every vocation. And then all of a sudden, you're supposed to suspend disbelief that that's not going to happen in, in Scottish football with refereeing.
Yeah. Well, the Nottingham Forest incident, when you think about it, the reason why it happened is because down in England, the officials have to declare who their team is, who their allegiances are to. And obviously Nottingham Forest got wind that the referee who would be in charge of the VAR was a Luton Town fan. Luton Town are in a relegation battle with Forest. And in fairness, also Everton, because Everton were down at the bottom. But Forest, obviously, they got a lot of snidey decisions last week. Naturally, they questioned it. But up here, of course, in Scotland, there's no pressure to declare. That's not part of the remit. Although you look at it, I mean, we can figure a lot of it out, to be honest. It doesn't take a genius to figure out many of these ones. But yeah, that all spawned from that because they had prior knowledge that referee was a Luton Town fan. Luton Town have got a vested interest in the outcome of that game. And yeah, when you actually see the decisions that VAR just completely dismissed in that game, they obviously felt quite aggrieved. And they let their feelings be known via a strongly worded tweet. So I was like, that's quite a watershed moment. And also another referee headline as well this week. A league in Europe, the Swedish league, have voted against VAR. So again, it's like we've also seen, I think Mark brought this up recently as well, that in Turkey, they've got something going on. What was it they were going to do Turkey? Was it going to be like foreign officials were going to come in to do VAR and stuff like that? So again, when you see things like that, you're like, well, if other leagues can do these types of things, like they can vote against VAR and they can bring in officials, it's just going to give, why don't clubs here start saying, well, if they can do it, why can't we introduce that? Or if a league's got a chance to vote against VAR and get rid of it, like Sweden have done, why can't we? Because it has been terribly managed since the day it came in, which we expected. We expected it to be terrible. VAR's meant to come in and make it better. And I think many of us said on this show, on many different Celtic podcasts, is the people behind it are going to make it a problem. And yeah, it's been nothing short of a mess since day one.
You know, it might be one of the things, like, just like, you know, other sort of things that you try to introduce, like new cola and shit like that. It's sometimes you got to, like, you remember when new Coca-Cola came out? Coca-Cola was the biggest selling drink in the world, and they got a wee bit of a fight off a Pepsi, and then they said, oh, we'll make it even better. And they nearly crashed their entire sales because they tried to make it better as new cola. And everybody, no, that's not what I like. That doesn't deliver the same thing. I want what I used to have. I think I think the innovation and the technology and all that stuff, yeah, it was all on the right. It was the right idea, but it was in the wrong direction. And we just need to take a step back. And I think you take a year off of VAR, you know, globally around the world, and that gets it, and then assess it with every league, and that puts eyes on all the referees. That puts eyes on every league in the world, like, how is it being refereed? And then from that, make your assessments. Okay, then how would VAR work? Talk to the television companies, talk to the communication companies, because you want to make it so that the referees are communicating with the TV and the broadcast, so that the fans know what's going on, the spectators at the stadium knows what's going on. You know, there's a transparency because people are communicating and talking about what happened and why people made those decisions.
Yeah,
that's really easy, right? And I think it just takes, you know, scrap a year VAR, get the right protocol together of, you know, what will make this successful, figure out what the key points are, and then implement it and do it worldwide and figure out how to make referees better and VAR referees better as well. You know, VAR referees don't have to be people that's ran about in the pitch. You can be just as, you know, you or I could do it, Phil. I mean, and I'd be biased right now. I'd be biased, you know. So maybe we couldn't, but I could do it for North American football. I live in Vancouver, but don't really support them. I think I could do VAR here and be reasonably biased, just as good as anything I've seen in Scotland. So, we're looking in the wrong places. We need different people on the VAR.
Yeah, well, without a shadow of a doubt, it's going to be a long run thing. It's going to rumble into next season because it looks like VAR isn't going anywhere. I think we're just going to keep persevering with it, and no doubt next season we'll be going through the same problems. I'm glad you brought up the thing about the stadium as well, because I can tell you firsthand from being in the stadium, it is just such a buzz killer. It really is. It's enough. You don't know what's going on. Sometimes they put the wrong message up on the screen, which confuses you even more. And yeah, it's just this one mistake after another. You've got to wonder, though, there are surely countries within Europe especially that must be doing it right. You know, you don't hear much stories about, like, Germany, for instance, doing it wrong. It's like, what can we learn from these countries, how they do it? I felt that England were going in the right direction after they brought it in and had a rocky period initially, but they seem to be going back the way as well. We saw the Liverpool-Tottenham game this year where Liverpool had a goal wrongfully disallowed. The guy from VAR is on the microphone to them saying, stop the game. You have made the wrong decision, stop the game. But by that point, they'd already made the wrong decision and the game had continued. And they're kind of like, oh dear, what have we done? We've made a mess of this here. So England have definitely had their problems as well. But there must be something like Germany or something. You know, they must be doing it right. We can learn from. But so it's going to rumble on in the next season. But yeah, I just thought I'd bring up the whole referee stuff, because I thought there was a few interesting headlines as well this week in the world of refereeing with the Nottingham Forest stuff. But let's talk about some positive news. Let's get off our referees, because we could do a whole hour-long podcast on the refereeing situation. Daizen Maeda has made a freakish recovery, apparently, from injury. Obviously, I would say it's a boost. I know, particularly on the bus, there might be one or two people on this channel who are not particularly Daizen Maeda's biggest fan. They're very brash in their opinion on him. But I think, given the options that we've had in the winger positions recently, and especially with another game looming against Rangers, which, let's be honest, is going to be the title decider. This is what it's all going to come down to. I thought the game at Ibrox was going to work as a title decider, but after it ended in a draw, nothing decided there. So this one at Celtic Park is going to be huge. We know what he does to their star man at right back. It's incredible news, because, yeah, the talk was he was out for the season, and supposedly doctors are amazed the recovery he has made, Liam, Daizen. That, you know, he's so it's expected that he won't make it for this game, but he should be back in the squad for the Hearts game next week, which, providing he doesn't get any injuries there, it'll be available for the Rangers game the week after. But at this time of the season, given we've had a season, Liam, of injury after injury after injury, it's good news to hear somebody making a quick recovery against the odds. So, Daizen Maeda, freak of nature, mate.
You know what? Maybe Celtic's bringing out a new vitamin or something like that, or some sort of like special rub or muscle or something. It could be a whole line of products. Don't trust the board. This could be a whole new Lazarus Celtic line, you know, and they're using Daizen as a, you know, the recovery champion. I know, whatever he's doing, I think that's the difference between an athlete and a football player. Football player might have taken longer to recover, whereas an athlete, maybe that's the difference in the training, that's the difference in the mindset, you know, because he does come across a lot of times more of a really, like, he's a Japanese Ollie Burke, can't he? We're
that's a bit of a backhanded compliment you've hit him with there. He's not really a footballer, he's an athlete. I get what you mean, because there are times when I do question, are you even a footballer, Daizen Maeda? Because 1 minute he could trip over the ball and fall flat on his face, and the next minute he's putting it in the back of the net. It's he's quite a polarizing figure at times.
Well, he's both. I think it's just it's a weird Venn diagram. I think it's about something like 70-30. But my God, that 30s, you know, shows up at the right time. You know.
Oh, he definitely. But it's good news to have him back, because I say the winger options this season, they've been so hot and cold and whatnot, but I think at this time of the season, given what he can bring to the team, especially in that fixture that's going to be on yonder horizon soon, it's a big boost to have him back. So yeah, it did make a nice change to see the way this season's went. Injury after injury, especially at the start of the season, where defenders were just dropping like flies. It was just never ending. It's actually good to see somebody actually recovered pretty quickly. So yeah, they seem you know, the Brendan's obviously quite positive that he's good, because originally it came from a WhatsApp rumour, and of course, as we know, folks, when it comes to WhatsApp rumours, you just take them with a pinch of salt. But it turns out it was actually true this time. It was actually one of them WhatsApp rumours that was actually correct. But we're at a stage now when we see them, we just kind of roll our eyes and go, oh, bloody WhatsApp rumours, you know, it's a load of nonsense. But yeah, Brendan did actually have a Q&A this week with, I think, shareholders or some sort of event he was at, and he did say that, and it wasn't Brendan just spinning a yarn or anything. Turns out, yes, he will be available for the Hearts game next week. So yeah, we've got that to look forward to. There you go, something to look forward to for next week. But we need to bring this up. I know I'm going to get a slap on the wrist from certain people in the comments and certain people afterwards, because apparently I go out of my way to mention this guy so that Liam can have a rant on screen. But it is a news headline this week. And again, I think we need to bring it up. Apparently Greg Taylor, contract talks on the table, but he has parked those contract talks till the end of the season because priorities. He wants to concentrate on obviously helping Celtic to win the double, which is fair enough. I don't understand that, because yeah, we are in the trenches right now. The double is still on the table, as crazy as it may feel to when you look how we were a few months ago, the way we were playing. Yeah, it's still very much on the table. It's there for us to go and win it. We have got the advantage. But yeah, Greg Taylor, obviously, he's saying that he's contract talks are there. For me, if he signs a new deal, which I fully expect he will, I think he'll sign a new multi-year deal, and we'll get the wee graphic coming up saying Taylor, whatever year it works out at, whatever it comes to, hashtag Taylor 20 whatever, and it'll be celebrated like a new signing. But that's the problem. He better not be the only left back at the start of next season, because as we've seen this season, we have to have more left back options. Bernabei completely failed, and so much so that they punted him out on loan, while not even bringing in another left back. That's how bad things went with Bernabei. We've said it enough times with Liam Scales. He's never going to play him at left back. It seems like that is just a wasted venture now. The boy Frame, who made a very short cameo against Feyenoord, has disappeared into the B team abyss again. And yeah, when the summer ends, we have to make sure we have more on our books than Greg Taylor, because if he is the first choice and the only left back choice next season, oh man, we've got problems. We need to improve that area so badly. It goes without saying, Liam.
See, I don't understand this. I don't understand the reward structure with Celtic. You look at Bernabei and you look at Taylor. There's no really a big difference between the two. There's not a huge gulf, right? They both, in my eyes, they both failed. They both failed to do what they're supposed to do as a defender, which is defend, right? One fell down, the other fell up, right? Bernabe, he fell downwards. Taylor, some reason, he fell upwards. So now you've got a guy that gets a game, 90 minutes every game. And, you know, does he let us down? Well, look in the frames. Every frame, every goal you see, who's in that frame? You know, so I don't know. Like, my fear is we sign somebody like a Kieran Tierney, or we get another left back that's injury prone. And then by default, we're going back into Europe with Greg Taylor. And I think if we stay with that mindset that, well, but he's Greg Taylor, he'll do this job for us, that. No, we're kidding ourselves on. He doesn't do the job. The only thing is he's only one there today that we feel can play in that position, which baffles me. Considering you got a squad of 24 players, and yeah, I don't know. It's no. I don't know what value he adds to this team other than being some sort of mascot. And if that's the case, then give him the Hoopy shirt.
I was going to say, see Hoopy the Huddle Hound, has he been under the mask this entire time?
Yeah.
But yeah, I seen that headline this week and I thought, oh boy, I have to get out of the news for this week. I thought of all the players, of all the people to have a contract table. I was like, don't you know, Celtic, don't you know in the Friday feeling what happens when I bring up Greg Taylor? Don't you know? But yeah, I thought I'd just obviously mention that because he has obviously said that priority is obviously to concentrate on the run-in, and he's right. It is the priority right now. It'll be revisited in the summer. He will definitely sign the deal. I say we'll get the graphic Taylor #20, whatever it will work out at. And yeah, a new signing, everybody. We celebrate it like a new signing, but yeah, we definitely need to be looking at adding another body at least for a left back. And you are right as well about the Kieran Tierney stuff a year ago. We were all dreaming about, imagine we get Tierney back on loan. So we thought Brendan equals box office. Brendan comes in, that's how players will be getting. But obviously Tierney has went to Sociedad on loan and he's had a lot of injury problems. So hopefully, if we do go out and venture into the market and get ourselves another left back, it needs to be somebody that can stay fit as well. And because if we find ourselves in a position again like we have, and the strange thing is, this is self-inflicted, this situation, because again we were willing to let the only other left back in the first team squad just go out on loan without any replacement after the transfer window had long since closed, because our window closed at the end of January. I think he departed at the end of February because the Brazilian window was still open. But yeah, I said at the time, I went, well, we've got to now get through to the end of the season with Greg Taylor as our only left back. We can't have him get injured. We can't have him get suspended. And so far, we've navigated that. But yeah, it needs to be another option there, and a better option at that.
But see if they did re-sign Greg Taylor for another so many years, that tells you everything you need to know about Mitchell Frame. Right? They've not got any plans for that. So what was that about then? Or who's the other one? Is Montgomery still out on loan? Or did we just...
Adam Montgomery came back from loan. I think he got injured. I feel like he got injured, but everybody was getting injured at one point this season. But I do feel like he came back from his loan because he was long-term injured. So maybe Montgomery is something to see, but I just don't know. I mean, we did get those few games for us because Ange had no choice but to play him because we were struggling that much. He wasn't exactly outstanding. Is he an upgrade on Taylor? Doubtful. Is he a guy that you think might develop into a Kieran Tierney level player? I don't really think so at this point. I think with Tierney, you knew quite early on this boy was a special talent. But with Montgomery, with the amount of games he has played for us so far, I don't know. It could be a late bloomer. I could be completely wrong there. Who knows? But I'd like to think that when they look at their shopping list in the summer, and there better be a shopping list, Celtic, I hope left back is on there. I really, really do.
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, we've not done anything about it, and it's just so obvious. And everybody in the team, in the league, knows it except us. So, yeah, I mean, but I think if you sign Taylor, that just shows you they don't have confidence in what's coming through. So if they did, they got to have their eye on like maybe one established one, because you need one for Europe that's good. And I would have loved to have seen a cameo of like Marcello for a year. The year he went to Olympiacos or AIK in Athens. I mean, what a player that guy was as a left back, and that was a small
he was
guy.
Sensational, yeah.
But he was sensational. You watch some of his highlight reels. Oh my God, some of the goals and assists and all that he made in that Real Madrid team was unbelievable. I watched a documentary about him and his pals starting a football team and back in Brazil, and that it was brilliant. Comes across a really cool guy. But anyway, so I want to see us going for maybe one established and some young a project coming in that can learn from a more established guy. That can't be Greg Taylor. He's no the one to be teaching or mentoring anybody. So it's, you don't want somebody to chase Greg Taylor. I want Greg Taylor chased.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. I say we need somebody at least that's challenging for it. We've seen in the past when you've got two players vying for one position, can bring the best out in each other. And I say Taylor right now finds himself in a position where he doesn't have anybody breathing down his neck. So yeah, he's guaranteed minutes all the time, especially right now. We're literally hanging on by a thread in that position. So yeah, we have to get him through to the end of the season now. But yeah, we'll obviously revisit that in the summer. So fully expect to see the graphic hashtag Taylor 20, whatever it works out at, when he signs probably a new 5-year deal or 4.5-year deal, whatever Celtic decide to hand out. They're usually quite big ones. You mentioned our name there as well. Talk about Mitchell Frame, talk about the B team, because obviously there's been headlines about that this week, Liam. We talked about it a wee bit last week, because initially there was a story that Daizen Maeda had been moved to a new position, pathway project manager or some new buzz term title that he's going to be working closely with Brendan Rodgers about helping players find a pathway to the first team. And honestly, we need to start seeing good products coming through and getting into the first team, because we can't just rely on re-signing Stevie Welsh and Scott Bain and James Forrest and whatnot for eternity. We have to get a fresh crop of youngsters through. Overall, though, over the years, Celtic don't have what you would say a crop of youngsters come through. It's like quite scattered out. Forrest, McGregor, Tierney, they're the sort of like standout ones over the years since, Lennoxtown was established. But obviously, we need to try and see a few more. Obviously, this boy Kelly has been in and around the first team since the turn of the year. He isn't outstanding, I would say, but he's all right. He's a boy that could probably be developed into something. But we've also got a problem as well, Liam, in that sense that Celtic are in a position where they can't take too many gambles with youngsters, and this is a problem for our first team because the pressure is that high to win. It's no coincidence that when Ronnie Dyler was in charge for those couple of years, and there was, look at the competition that season, Motherwell, Aberdeen, that's Kieran Tierney and Callum McGregor got their chances and got into the first team, were able to develop and begin their pathway into the first team during those 2 seasons. If Brendan Rodgers was to start bleeding in a couple of youngsters over the next year or so through this pathway, whatever it is that Daizen Maeda's heading up, and results obviously go wrong, the first thing that a lot of fans are going to turn to and point their finger at is, well, why did you play them? Why did you do that? Why take sides? So it's a bit of a poor position that we find ourselves in, that where these boys, but I just feel like we're in a position where we can't afford these slip-ups because the league, as we've seen this season, is so tight. A couple of years ago, or a few years back, obviously there was opportunity there. But as the problem is the UEFA squads, we need to register a contingent of homegrown players. So then it's like, well, we can't. I say James Forrest is 32 now. We can't rely on him to be around forever. So it's a bit of a catch-22 right now we find ourselves in. But of course, the story regarding the youth is, on top of the Daizen Maeda move last week, there's talk that Charlie Mulgrew and Johnny Hayes could be coming in to head up the under-18s team, I believe it is. But anyway, one of the youth teams, a jobs for the boys, whatever you want to call it. But ultimately, there has to be some sort of turnaround in what we are producing at youth level, because we definitely do need a contingent that are good enough to come into the first team and contribute.
I mean, maybe it just means a shorter pool of players rather than like a full youth team with a better program in development, and that means not the scattergun approach we're doing now, where we have loads and loads of players. It's like pick 5 that you think are going to come into the first team and they train with the first team and that. But when you're picking guys that you think are potential stars, you just got to be a bit more. We've got to figure out how to get more from that. I don't know, and I think that means going for a wider base as well. You know, just looking wider, but also not being blind to the fact that there's really, really good Scottish players out there as well. I played football in Toronto, Phil, in like the 80s and 90s, and there was loads of young boys coming there from England, Ireland, and it was like all over the place, Portugal, Italy, and African, South American places, and you all played against them and all that. But anytime there was a new guy that came out from Scotland, chances are he was 10 times better than most of them. He just came out just more developed, and it was a better caliber football player, just already. And I watch the SPFL, and I'm seeing more and more players coming and playing in teams against us that raise their game or have a really good game, and I'm happy to see, they're Scottish, and I know people say, the league's terrible and this and that, but some of these guys have scored some spectacular goals against us and made good tackles and and beat us on levels as well. And so, I like to look at that boy Armstrong, and then we're also going to get a look at that boy Cowan tomorrow.
The one I think that's getting a lot of rave reviews, and I thought he was good when they played against us, was the boy Miller that played for Motherwell when we beat them 3-1 at Fir Park. He was particularly good. Lennon Miller, I believe his name was. He looked pretty good. And I think as well, another one that's been getting reviews is a boy named Watson that plays for Kilmarnock. I think he scored a very late equaliser against us at Celtic Park as well that day. But he seems to be getting rave reviews. But does that not also, if we were to just go and pinch these guys and just go, well, we'll just take them, we'll have them, thank you very much. Does that not kind of put back what we're trying to do at Lennoxtown, where it's like, our youth development is good enough, we'll just pinch these guys from Motherwell and Kilmarnock and Dundee, we'll just take them and just put them in our first team, and then guys like Kelly and stuff who are kind of on the outskirts of the team, it's a bit of a blow to them, essentially.
Well, here's the thing, if we don't, it might be Inter Milan or Napoli or Fiorentina, because they seem to have recognised, and they probably, and we've talked about this before, is that their scouts seem to really recognise a good Scottish player, and then when they get them within their system and their style of play, they're able to develop those players a lot quicker than they were able to develop in Scotland. So maybe we should be looking at the Italian model right then, rather than another, guy for the inside. What if you get somebody for like a Bologna or somebody like that right now that have had success with Scottish players, and see what they're doing and how they could develop an Aaron Hickey, or even get Ferguson to have a fantastic season by all accounts.
Yeah, fair doubt. And Graham Towers was coming just saying, why don't we give our youngsters a chance of signing players like Yang and O? Yeah, totally agree. I mean, we've seen what's happened with Yang and O in particular. Yang had a couple of fleeting performances this season, but a very few and far between. And O, it looks like his race is run at Celtic anyway. But yeah, I mean, I do think we do need to have a strong contingent come through available there that can come in and contribute. See, we're in a bit of a position where if you change the team too much and give too many youngsters a chance and it backfires, then that's going to be the first thing fans are going to home in on. So they have to be of a level that they can come in and obviously contribute to the bigger, the push for the trophies as we barreled it towards the end of the season. But anyway, before we do that, before we you go down another rabbit hole and talk about, that's another thing that we go on for ages about. There's a game against Dundee. When you talk about it, I've wrapped up all the news stories for the week. So I wasn't at TNF last week, so I thought I would cover all the other stories that are going around Celtic. But yeah, we are, of course, playing Dundee. So this is usually the part of the show where, we'll have a look at a few storylines going on, a few things that could happen with the team and whatnot. And I think the first thing that needs to be asked, Liam, is there a case for James Forrest to start the game tomorrow? I think there is.
I think there's a case for him as well. I mean, Forrest, the other name on, what's happened to Vata, Phil? Is he completely dropped off the pitch, or is he injured?
I don't know if he's injured, but obviously there was a whole palaver at the turn of the year. We'll try to get him to sign a new contract. I think he knocked it back. And then, yeah, he got a few games here and there. But yeah, he seems to have just disappeared again. I don't know if he's injured, though. I don't know if he is. But it wouldn't surprise me given our injury track record this season.
Well, the contract stuff shouldn't have anything to do with that. You've got to separate the business and the football, which...
Well, now, there's Graham Tyrrell saying VAR not signed contracts, so bombed out.
Which is bullshit, right? Because you know what? You still play him because we've been crying out for somebody to grab a hold of that position because everybody keeps wanting to throw it away and we've got one guy. All right, give him a shot. You know, so what if he goes and he gets, like, we'll win the league, you know? I don't know. There's plenty of opportunities where we could have gave him a shot as well rather than seeing, you know, Palma again. So going back to your question, Phil, yeah, I'd rather see James Forrest and Gomez Adams on the wing, Louis Palma. Does my head in. Palma, head's in a palm of my hands every time he shoots a goal. You know?
Well, earlier on, I think Stephen Ray came in with the stats on Palma, and his stats don't lie. At the end of the day, he has been one of our more productive wingers at times this season. The numbers are definitely there compared to, say, a Yang, who had something like 32 appearances he's had this season, and it's like 1 goal, 3 assists and stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, he's... For me, I think Forrest, there's definitely a case for it because I think he's obviously played well when he's been coming on recently. But again, you know, I think it was against Stephen Ray had said, you know, he's a finisher, not a starter, which is fair. It is fair. But obviously we have got this issue where we always start the game with wingers. And at times the wingers can be very unproductive. We do the horseshoe passing, as we talk about, when we go out wide, nothing's really on, come back the way, go round the back line again, go out to the other wing, nothing on there. So Forrest seems to be doing the best. But hey, if he does come on, and he can keep up his recent run, because last week at Hampden, I said at half-time when they went off, I was like, Yang cannot come out for the second half. And I said to my dad, I would trust James Forrest to come on more than Yang playing. And this is with Lewis Palmer on the bench, and a few people around us were all saying the same thing, like, get Forrest on. Because he comes on within a matter of minutes, he scores a goal. He has one chance, blocked by Aberdeen, and then a minute later, identical chance, and this time he finds the back of the net. And yeah, he was, this is a good contribution there. So hopefully, if he does feature, whether it's starting games or substitute appearances, that's the type of thing we get out of him now at the end of the season. But as I've said many times whenever I bring up James Forrest's name recently, I'm not advocating that he is the answer long term. I definitely find James Forrest is definitely coming to the end of his time at Celtic. But if he can go out helping us to win a double and leave a hero like that, then fantastic. That's the ending you would like for him, to be honest. But yeah, I do feel like, you know, the legs aren't there anymore. It's not the James Forrest of old. But hey, time catches up to everybody in the world of football. And yeah, for these last few games, if he can just find an extra gear just to help us get over the line, then he could be a very useful player for us at this point. Say more so than the Yangs of this world. But say Maeda's going to be back for the Hearts game, so I'd expect him to be coming back in. But of course, we need to navigate Dundee first and foremost. And of course, Liam, another question that's coming up is, where does Callum McGregor fit in all this? Because let's be honest, against Aberdeen last week, he was subbed off for good reason. He just didn't look up to it again. Obviously, he's came back off a long-term injury. Brendan has said, you know, he's having to be nursed back into the team, and the appearances that he's made so far since coming back, he just hasn't looked up to fitness at all. Do you risk him at this point, or do you still keep him on the bench? Because he started last week against Aberdeen. Recently, he's been coming off the bench. Obviously, against Rangers, it wasn't a particularly glowing appearance off the bench that day. But obviously, starting against Aberdeen last week and got taken off. He is the club captain. We know how good he can be when he is fully fit. But realistically, and hopefully this isn't famous last words, we should have enough to beat Dundee if Callum McGregor plays or not.
And the other meme we've created this year as well is, this is a time we'll see who steps up and is ready to take charge and show the leadership on the part we've all been waiting for as well. And yeah, I'm saying that again. So I don't know, there's so much potential there because we've seen him when he was good. That time when he came back with Ange, when he had the face mask on, he was good. He didn't put much of a foot wrong considering he had that, you know, Zorro mask on. I think he needs to just. I think we play him. We play him and then hook him at half time, if we need to. But it's been really disappointing this season. But I've not seen enough Iwata right now to take that position away from him, you know. And so I'd start with McGregor and then see if is the 5 games motivation, being the captain, all that stuff, is that enough to you? Got 5 games left. You've been saving it for these 5 games. That's all the motivation he might need to either run through the pain, break through the physicality, the fitness, whatever, and then also as well lead this team.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. Like right now, we still don't have that leader. Joe Hart's doing his best through the back. Greg Taylor, come on, don't kid me on. Wants to be a leader. He's no leader. Flinging up your arms in every goal. That's no leadership, So, yeah, I think they need that. Ali Johnson's no leader, Calm. I think he's too quiet. I think you need somebody in that part that's going to be able to get it across to the players what's at stake and how much this means to us, right? And I think that's where he'll have it over Iwata. We've got enough players to battle and win all the other parts of the pitch, so he should be able to do that and direct from the middle, and be that leader in the park. Just pulls everybody together, so that we're not taking orders for the kit man, so to speak.
Yeah, that was an interesting moment, that one. I see Brendan mentioned in his press conference as well today, but obviously the clip was doing the rounds last week. I'd always wondered what his job was, because I see him at Celtic Park. He tends to always be out during the warm-up at the start, and if a ball goes into the crowd, he's very determined to make sure he gets it back. He'll send up stewards and everything to get it. It's like, give me my ball back. He does not accept a ball getting stolen at Celtic Park. So I always wondered what he was, but apparently he's the kit man, so there we go. But yeah, Brendan gave him a right good telling off. He was trying to give Bernardo tips. Bernardo's penalty was the worst penalty. I know Joe Hart missed, but Joe Hart, I felt, struck his penalty pretty well in the end. But Bernardo's one was like, oh, that was a bit too close for my liking. But I got there in the end. It did find the back of the net. But another story as well, Liam, and I know last week, for the last 7 days or whatever, so the rumours he was coming back into the team. He obviously played. It wasn't a particularly glowing day. Some people say he's been made the scapegoat here. But Liam Scales, what was your feelings on it last week? Because we talked, you, me and Michael were on last week, and we talked about, I said on last Friday, I think Liam Scales will come straight back into the team. I don't necessarily agree with it, because I think Nawrocki would have been fine to play against Aberdeen. I think he would have been more than adequate. I think it would have been all right. But obviously Scales came in, didn't have a great day. The 2 goals, obviously they do come in from the right hand. We have to keep this in mind though, and this is not the first time this season it's happened where we've lost a goal where a ball has come in from our right hand side and also it's been put in at the back post, which would be our left hand side of our defence. So yeah, well, there is a case that Taylor and Scales, that's their region. Johnson isn't closing people down as well. But you do see, I think it was the second goal, I want to say it was, where Taylor absolutely loses the rag with Scales. The boy heads it in at the back post. He jumps over the horns to go celebrate. But you see Taylor drop to his knees on the line and get up and instantly just get stuck into Scales. And that's not the first time I've seen that this season. Lawrence Shanklin scored a goal at Celtic Park this season where they beat us 2-0. Back post header at a corner. And the two of them were at each other, all blaming each other, he's your man. And again, going into this last 5 games, it's always late goals as well at the back post that we keep losing. This has to stop. We have to find a way. I've said it before on the show. We need to be a 90-minute team. We need to make sure we do not switch off at all, because unless we're a few goals ahead, we're usually fine. But I've seen it too many times this season where we've only got a 1-goal lead and teams will just throw everything forward for that last 10 minutes or so. And unfortunately, this season, they've benefited from it. Motherwell, Kilmarnock, they've took points off us at Celtic Park. So we can't allow that to happen. These just clear your lines. It might not be pretty to watch, but there's nothing wrong with just clearing your lines, boot it into touch, boot it up the park, just get it away, because those crosses coming in from our right hand side and the left hand side go to sleep. It's worrying. So when it comes to the centre backs, I still think Liam Scales will start. I think he's nailed on. I think Brendan's mentality is, this boy's played most of the season. I want to stick with consistency here. Hopefully it's not detrimental. And don't get it wrong, Scales has had some good moments this season. It's not all bad, but I do feel he has hit a glass ceiling. But I think at this stage of the season, I don't see Nawrocki coming in and being the centre-back to the end of the season, Liam. What about yourself on the Liam Scales thing? Do you agree it'll be Scales all the way to the end of the season?
Yeah, I don't see Rodgers as being particularly creative at this stage of the season. He's never done any of that before. I don't see him going from that now. No, I think he'll persist with Scales. You know, and I think we have to look at that, the way these balls are whipped in. I mean, you mentioned Johnson earlier. He was posted missing on both of those. I mean, that guy got enough of luck. That was, I think, Howlett, another Canadian international, so they know each other. And twice he just played off him like somebody he knew he had a guy beat every time. And you could see that. As soon as he came on, Johnson started backtracking and both times left for dead for their goals. And we know as well with the patterns of assistance that we see as well, the referees and stuff, is if you look at the data in Celtic and the amount of free kicks that we concede in late second half, so many of those vulnerable areas, between the centre circle and the 18-yard line, on both sides. And you've seen him, it's like a touch in the shoulder. The guy goes doing a clip, anything 50-50s. We always see that, it was the ultimate Bobby Madden one, right? Bobby Madden couldn't see the stuff in the box, but he could see the most minuscule infringement, outside the centre circle. And then that, I think, gave us a much more weaker position than when we're actually playing football, because when it comes to these set pieces, it's like that. And we know we're vulnerable. You got one guy, can he win a header? And I think you play in the Rocky with Taylor, you're going to have the same problem. I don't think the problem's Scales, so to speak. There's a lot of times where you see Scales moving his head looking for Taylor, and Taylor's not there. He's run away. And so, that first goal as well, Taylor's running with him. The second goal. Taylor's running with Scales. And then it looks like Taylor could have went to the outside, but he cuts in, and I don't know why.
Because he fights on the goal line when the ball goes in, and Scales is still at the back post. So that won the second goal.
Yeah, see, if he doesn't cut inside and he goes outside, then you can try and overrun him. You know what I mean? So he has to come wait, so you overrun the ball. But, and then Scales doesn't have to worry about being beat at the post because somebody's there. But instead he cut on the inside, and I don't understand why he did that. That's how he ended up in the net. He went the wrong side. So, yeah, I think it'll go with Scales, because I don't think he's got the trust in the Rocky, and I don't think the Brendan that we're getting right now has got the creativity to solve it by doing something bold. And I don't know what that bold move is. Kobayashi, who knows?
Oh God, no, definitely not that. Definitely not. But yeah, in terms of saving up for the game on Sunday, the team I think will probably just be the only thing I think is different might be Yang won't start and maybe Forrest will start, or say Palmer will start. It'll be one or the other, but I think Kuhn keeps his place, Kyogo keeps his place. The captain part, I think McGregor will probably start. I think he'll get the nod because he's obviously a week further down the line. He's also been training for another week, so you'd like to think that he's getting back up to a bit of fitness. And yeah, as you say, if it's a certain point in the game, we can pull him off, providing that we're in a decent enough position and Iwata is a solid enough hand to come on. But yeah, we'll obviously end it there. So before we go, I'll just quickly check, and I'm a bit afraid to look. Obviously, I put a poll up at the start of the show. Yes, people have pointed out as well that I missed 11 points. That is one of the possibilities. We only get 4. There's only 4 slots when I'm doing the answers on it. So I picked 15, 13, 12, 10 or less, but apparently 11 is also a possibility. And maths was never my strongest. But let's see what people have said. So I said, how many points will Celtic gain between now and the end of the season? And 47% say 15 out of 96 votes. 13 points for 32%, 12 points, 12%, 10 or less, 8%. Oh Oh, no. We can't have that. That'll put the fear in you. No, come on, 15 points. I do think we'll get there. I've said since January, we did the first show after the January window closed, right before we went up to Pittodrie. And at the end of the show, I did a poll that night saying, right, now that the window's closed, will Celtic go on and win the league? And majority, I think it was like 64% voted yes. And I gave my opinion and said, ultimately, I think Celtic will go on and win the title this season, but it's going to be touch and go right up to the end. And it's playing out that way. It's a bit too uncomfortable for my liking. I would much prefer that we had a better cushion than that. But yeah, this is going to go quite close and hopefully it doesn't go down to the last day. Oh, please God, no. I don't want that. But yeah, it's obviously still pretty close right now. But yes, I still think the Celtic will get the 15 points. I'm going to stick my neck on the line and say that, but it won't be pretty. I don't think we're going to go and tank all these teams by a heavy score line. I'd love it if we did. Love if we just turned up, blew them all away in the first half, and then just cruise to victory. It'd be fantastic if we did. But I think we'll find a way somehow, by hook or by crook, in each of these games. We'll just scrape through. And with that being said, I'll say we get a sort of run-of-the-mill 2-0 victory at Dundee on Sunday at Dens Park. What about you, Liam? This run-in, this 5 games, the first hurdle, how far do we clear it?
Positive thinking, right? Like, I feel like part of me fears the worst. No with Dundee, but just with decisions and things like that. And I have to say 5-0, because I think we have to have the mindset that we have to win. We have to crush them. Like, that has to be the intent. That has to be the mindset. What happened with Aberdeen, that's inexcusable. So right now, we've got the strongest team in the league. We've got the best players. We've got the fittest players. We've got players that have won and know how to win. So our mindset should be 5-0 every game. So 5-0.
That'll do for me. I would absolutely love that if that's the case. But yeah, any victory will do at this stage. Celtic, obviously, the more comfortable, the better for all of us. But yeah, we head to Dundee on Sunday. We, of course, are playing second on Sunday. I believe they are playing before us against St Mirren and Paisley. That'd be really nice if St Mirren could do us a favour, but I will not hold my breath on that one. But yeah, obviously we'll be back on Sunday for PMP. I believe we'll be on at some point after the game, so look out for that. And we're out of here. So another wee Friday feeling on the books. And enjoy the rest of your weekend, folks, whatever you get up to. And we shall catch you the next time. All the best, folks. See you later.